Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sonya, Lynn, Mynatt, once again you have found your way into the Fox Den for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Starfox Radio. Yes, it is almost time to hunt the infamous Dogman, yet please allow me to feed. I'm feeling a tad weak. Absolutely delicious. And now that Sonya has set me free from my shackles and I am revamped, recharged, and ready to stalk the Dogman, it is time for the Midnight Society once again to take a venture into the darkness. My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. Again, we have Sonya, Lynn, Mynatt hanging out with us, helping to figure out some strangeness that is occurring in Michigan. Yes, where is this located? Werewolf Square. Sonya, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Good. How are you?
It's been really busy and sitting down now to chat with you here for a few. And after that, I am going to give the NADP website a quick little facelift with some stuff Jody sent to me earlier, and then going to edit some images and a podcast. Yourself?
I haven't been into anything this week. I'm actually got a clear schedule for September, which is great. So, yay!
This is a good thing. Exactly. It's good to be able to have a little bit of downtime to reset and clear the mind. I know how that is because when I was grinding for getting all my content back up and I was just legit 3, 4 videos sometimes a night and I was up till the sun was coming in and turning my skin into dust. I would wake up the next day and try to, plug my brain in and it was just like upside down, crooked. It was still working, but it definitely was not up to full capability for sure.
Yeah, I understand. Life is hard, things are busy, and just glad to get what you did done, Just glad to get
This
it
is
done.
true. It's funny because I've always had potential. I'm better at it now, but just focusing on one thing, I can do that for sure. But my mind capabilities, I'm just able to multitask, meaning I could be, working on a video, and as I'm filtering through the audio, I have my laptop open, and I'm just doing some stuff on the website as well. And, in the background, I might have a sports game on. I mean, it's definitely important, I feel like, to be able to multitask, but also, have enough clarity to focus on the task that's the most important in front of you. But I mean, as I said, filtering through audio, when I've already put it all together, you're just pretty much doing the final checking in on that. And that's already done for the most part. And how hard is it really to upload and put some stuff up on the website? I mean, I don't need to put my full focus into what's occurring in the game in the background.
Understood. Give it what you can. Give it 110% or 80%, whatever you can handle at the moment.
So
Um,
true, so true. So tonight you had some really interesting stuff up, as stated, near the Manistee National Forest in Michigan, and I wanted to toss you the mic, and you can let the audience know if you've been up to any sort of paranormal investigations yourself, or if you have anything new that you've stumbled upon, and then we'll dive into what you have to bring up, my friend.
I haven't stumbled onto anything real new. I've been doing a lot of things about the Dogman, I'm really thinking like the Dogman is probably our number one apex predator in the woods. They are the number one stalker. They are the number one cryptid out there that is so hard to get a picture of. Not that anybody hasn't. We've got a few of them. But like to be the Dogman and being so like in so many places, because there's one or two sightings just in all these different forests all over the US, all over the place, but they're so just, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just really hard to, track down. But they are the number one stalkers out there as far as cryptids go. There's no other cryptids that stalk like they do. A lot of people report going out in the woods and then them following them home, which, I think Sasquatch. I don't think Sasquatch really, like, unless they're in the area already and they live in the area, they've already followed you home. They already know, because I think Sasquatch like really stay in the area that they live in. They have like a migratory pattern. Am I saying that right? But they stay in a lot of the different areas. Like the family that I live, Sasquatch that lives near me, they're always around the same time of the year. They always come in at the same time of the year. You have more activity at certain times of the year. We even have like a rogue Sasquatch that comes through that a certain time of the year, that he only comes through like every now and then, and it's always the same time of the year. He doesn't come every year, but it's like every 2 years or but he always comes the same time of the year, and you always know when he's around. It's weird. But like with the Dogman, they stop people. They stop people in these places, and you wonder why. Like there's so many things going, people going missing in different national forests, and then you have to think about like, well, you've got the number one tracker in the woods. Big cats like hunt, but not like you know they stalk and hunt, but they wouldn't follow you for days. Like coyotes, they'll follow. They'll follow things. Like if they know you have a farm with livestock on it, they'll check your place out for days. They'll come around, you'll just see them, or they'll get the dogs all tore up. They come in and they make a plan. They know to lead your dogs off, to be able to come to send some of the other ones in while they lead the dogs off. They'll either try to get the dog, or they'll come in on the farm while the dog's let off, which, I mean, that's just a coyote. So you can imagine if it's a dog man and what it could do in the forest, or like what it could, what its capabilities are. I mean, a coyote compared to a wolf. I mean, not saying that they're that much different, but a wolf's way smarter than a coyote. I'm assuming. I don't know. Um, but I think if they were going to fight, I'm pretty sure the wolf would win. Um, so it's the more you think about the Dogman, the more it's just really crazy to think how smart they are, and how you know just how many of them there could be compared to what we think. And after the first Dogman sighting that was in the Manistee National Forest, which is the Huron Manistee, they're two separate national forests. It was one national forest, but it's two separate forests that don't even connect. But it's just in that area, and they declared it a national forest in 1909, which was what it was. 1887 was the first Dogman um, sighting. Yeah, and that was done by loggers. They reported seeing, that they chased the thing, what they thought was a big dog, into into this place, and then it came out on them, and they were like, it was a dog, and it was like a huge dog, and it walked on two legs, and it, and then In a couple of other places, there was people who said that they had seen what they thought was a large wolf, like, but it wasn't, anything that was like really confirmed. But they turned it into a national forest in 1909, which is just 20 years after seeing that. They said the logging era was declining in that area in 1909, which is kind of weird because a lot of things were booming back then, all the way up until the Depression hit. So it's kind of hard to think that, of course, they could have just logged it all out, and there wasn't much left to save. Might not even been a decline, but it might have just been a absent of trees. So, but then, after you got a lot of these sightings coming up after that, not just of the Dogman at that place, but in the all through the 1900s, there's been reported sightings of some sort of cryptid out there, and the more we got into the forest, the more people started seeing, and the more national parks they started declaring. And maybe it's just all coincidence, but I think a lot of it is, because of these things, or to protect these things, or to protect, you know, it's not always because they want to protect stuff, they can study it. So that's always one thing you have to think of when you're thinking of the national parks. You don't know what's in them. You have a lot of you have all the way back to the natives talking about, you know, the strange things in the woods, and they lived in these places that are the national parks now. So, and then you get the same stories of people seeing the same stuff now. You know, there's got to be truth in that. It can't be just stuff we're just making up. I don't know where I was going with that. I was off on a tangent.
Well stated right there. That's great stuff. No, I appreciate that. And it is super interesting, especially when it boils down to, the Werewolf Square area. And yeah, the 1887 loggers, 11 of them. Every time I hear that, I just think of the Steve Cook song because I don't know,
I
the legend.
never heard it until tonight. I actually listened to it, and I was like, because they were trying to say that Dogman wasn't really a thing until that song came out, which wasn't true. I mean, you can say Dogman, but you can say werewolf, and if you look up werewolves in history, which is what most people call a Dogman, and it's only really the turn of the century we've started calling them Dogman. I mean, they were werewolves in history. That's what you would call them. Um, if you look up the very first werewolves in was it mythology? What was it? The king Lycan or fed Zeus meat it was human meat, and deceived Zeus, and Zeus cursed his family, him and his sons, and turned them into wolves. And that there was a whole tribe of these people that were wolves. And then if you think about that story, we were talking a little bit about the wolf tribe in India that were the wolf people, and they were a huge tribe of people. Who's to say they're not the same people?
Very interesting stuff right there. And last night, actually, when I was talking to William White, who's part of our science team, and the audience will know who he is because he's a bi-weekly host. He's a geologist, amongst other things. And yeah, he was speaking about that. And he actually has a hypothesis that we would like to turn into a theory that there was some sort of collapse of a civilization of the cynocephali at a point in time, which now explains the sporadic sightings throughout history, because at one point in time they were a large culture and colony. Yet as history kind of progresses a little bit, they're still spotted, but definitely in scarce amount of numbers in comparison to what they were. And again, everyone's super misinformed with the whole, oh, the Dogman's a recent thing. No, the cynocephaly goes back to 290 BC. Okay, wait, people don't want to say that's part of the Dogman? Okay, fine, let's move that out of the way. All right, well, people think 1867? Nope. What if I told you up in Maine, 1865, meaning we were having sightings up here then, and I'm pretty sure probably other parts of the United States have sightings that just weren't necessarily documented, and the Native Americans have been documenting it since the beginning of their existence here. So
Yeah, and then they didn't document as much stuff after everything was stolen from them because they didn't want everybody to know, so they just told each other
Yeah,
these
oral
things.
history. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, which you can't blame them. I mean, you can see what people love to do with history. But yeah, there were a lot of other. That's the, like you say, in 1887 was the first doc. No, that's just the most famous one. If you go, like, if somebody had the time to go through old logging records, and because they would keep like a logging journal, like a ship's captain log, they keep the logging journal out in the woods a lot of times, especially when they would go out and spend the nights out there, so there's a lot of reports. They would make these reports in these logging journals, and and that's as far as they ever went. So it would be really interesting to be able to look up some of them, like if if you knew like how to get a hold of those kind of things. But there was a lot of, I'm sure, like I can imagine what there'd be in, because nobody, they'd probably tell the story of it, but nobody would have wrote it down, and nobody would have known, other than that. And back then, older folks didn't talk about the things they seen. They still don't. Like, and where I live in East Tennessee, in the middle of the sticks. The people around here, there's an old man. They talk about Sasquatch out here, and he thinks it's a bear that throws rocks at people, and that's what he tells people, and that's fine. Like, but like it just like a lot of people don't want to grasp of what they've seen, or they don't want to talk about it. They just, it's either traumatic, or they just don't want to be sought out as being crazy. So want to be prayed for at church every Sunday.
No, which is totally understandable. And I had somebody that I consider a friend, I guess, come at me sideways in regards of saying, well, you don't believe this person, or you don't necessarily subscribe to the portals and all that. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, why though? That they're telling you something. And I was like, okay, well, I do know for a fact, which here I can show you how many times it's been staged where they wanted to see how credible humans are for witnesses. Okay. And someone is driving a car doing this and this, and they sit down with all these people. Someone's wearing like a maroon shirt, yet this person says yellow, green. Someone says they have a hat on, different color hair. The color of the cars, the description of the cars are all off. Yeah, all these people saw the same thing. Okay. We as human beings are not good witnesses, meaning I'm just not going to say something is 100% when I cannot verify anything else, meaning I'm not there. Okay. When I have gotten time to background check people and interact with people myself, sure. Okay. Then when I sit down with them, that's different. All right. But when I'm talking about people just in general that I've never felt out or anything, just telling stories, okay? At the end of the day, human beings lie. All right. It's just part of what we do. I mean, look at all these large threads now consistently putting out AI videos that just look like straight up hot dumpster trash, and they're saying they're real. Okay, sure. Let's
Mhm.
give some of those people the benefit of the doubt being misinformed. Okay. But the rest distinguishedly know what it is that they're doing. How many times do people say that, oh, okay, this didn't happen? They get brought into court, and then it's proved that this did happen. So they blatantly just lied, okay? Right? And how many times throughout history do we see prominent people lying about things, or even in modern times? So that's all I'm saying is, if we as humans were to
We
always take something
mean
at face value, where would we be as a society, or just in general? We'd be off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, your brain, and we're horrible witnesses because, again, your eyesight works against you for everything. I mean, that's why it's so easy for Sasquatch to get away from people, is because our eyesight actually, they can use our eyesight against us. We see everything inverted, but then our eyes have to turn it, we have to turn it upside down, and then our brains fill in the rest of what we're seeing. And your brain can see anything. It can put anything in there. And that's the crazy thing about your brain. And but like, so but like I never, if people have a story to tell and that's their story, you can always tell the people that, because people tell me I need to write down my encounters and stuff like that. And that may be true as I'm getting older. But I don't have to because it's the same story every time I tell it because that's just what happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I like a lot of people are like, oh, you should write everything down. I was like, I don't feel like I should have to. I feel I feel like I'm sure that time will come if I need to write things down. But like I can tell you what I know now because I was there and this is what I experienced. And I still know it, you know. I get my dates wrong. Like I can't tell you what year it was. I just know it was I was just there because, you know, I could think like I can be like, oh, that happened like a couple years ago, and that could be like anywhere between 10 and 20 years ago. So, so, so to me, like a couple years could be anything. But like, but you know, you can tell people that are consistent in their stories. You can tell that people that aren't telling their stories to be exploit. You can feel the energy that comes off people. I mean, you can just tell. It's just, and you know, people can't always. You don't always know what you're seeing. So trying to describe stuff to people, it's you know, it's kind of hard. It's really hard to describe something if you don't know what you're describing, you know, so that's it's tough. And you want everybody to be safe and like feel safe and secure and being able to tell you stuff and being able to come to you and being able, you know, but you can't just come in with like some sort of proof that's you know, I don't know. You can't I don't know. You can't come in with just half proof of anything. You 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 have to have definitive proof or nothing at all. You can't just here's a picture and let me circle it for you and be like, here, that's what I saw. And it's like, well, that's not nobody's gonna believe that. Nobody's gonna be able to because the first thing people say when I tell them that I live near a family of Bigfoot is that they want to see the pictures. Well, first off, I don't barge into your house and start take pictures of your family, and I wouldn't do that without permission, and I don't feel like I have permission from them. I don't feel like that. I don't even know like if they would stick around if I brought my camera out. Like I've never tried. So I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't want that to put a mistrust between us either. Trying, you know, I don't want that. I don't want that. You know, that's a fear that I have. Like when I go out there, everybody's like, "Why don't you get your camera out more?" Well, I go and take pictures of the markings, and I take pictures of you know um, footprints and things that I find that you know glyphs, things that I find that I know what they are. You know, um, but I've never tried to take their pictures. I've never tried to stick a camera in their face. Again, I don't know. And maybe that's just a fear I have. Maybe I should, but you know, who's here to tell me if I can or not?
uh, no, totally understandable. But I mean, now fast forward, you're one of my good friends, so I have no reason to fact check you. But in the very beginning, when someone suggested that I spoke to you, yeah, I background checked you as much as possible. I didn't know who you were. You know, I'm trying to put out quality information. So I asked around to some people that knew who you were, was like, yeah, she's awesome. Okay, cool. And then I started speaking to you myself, and now you're one of my good friends. So, you know, I know your character. But for example, someone that calls me claims he works down in the Massachusetts prison system as some sort of security guard or whatever. Okay, I've never been to prison. Sorry, I don't know the terminologies here if someone gets upset with me. But either way,
Thank you,
he
right? Let me
claims,
know.
yeah, he claims that he works with somebody that was a student of Brenda Hamilton that had been attacked and that every muscle was surgically removed from her and she was still alive when they got there and the Dogman did this. And then he proceeded to tell me one night in his room he woke up and the shadow figure like Dogman thing was battling with him and it threw him off his like metal bed and caused him to get bruised. And then he started putting out some sort of spiritual chant, and the thing screamed, ran out the window, and busted through the forest. Okay. All right. Time out here. I did my background checking. First off, a lot of people said that he was an interesting character and that they had heard this supposed information that he had told me as well. And there's no way this dude couldn't back up any of that. So now I'm already being told he's a questionable individual. And personally, just from hearing all that, I thought that was questionable as heck anyhow. So he texts me again and wants to come on to Midnight Lycanthropy. I'm not about that. I did forward him on to potentially other people that would talk to him, but sorry, dude, I'm not bringing you onto my podcast when I think you're encounter is hot garbage. And
that's sketchy anyway. That's just like stories like that, because I've heard a lot of like stories about Dogman attacks and the cover up and this and that. I'm just like, okay.
you know how hard it is to cover up something, for example, okay? Like, meaning,
The neighbors, I'm telling you right now, every neighbor in that small town would know everything that just happened. I don't care who you are. Everybody in that small town would know about it.
and not
and
even that, like, meaning if you and I, right, were working on a top secret project, okay, officials do this purposely. There's different subcontractors that come on and work on segments throughout the project, meaning it's easier to keep wraps. Okay, you bring in a crew of 100 people to do something, they sign waivers, boom, they finish what they were doing, they leave. You bring in another group. So that first group signed waivers, and now they didn't talk to this other group. So that's how they keep things like that under wraps. No person, for the most part, just works on a whole entire top secret project. Okay, there's lapses like that to help make it so there aren't leaks and things. So people seem to think that all these, again, gnarly people that work for officials and have these underground cryptid hunting and breeding centers and all this stuff. I hate to break it to people. That individual wouldn't even know about that. That's nearly impossible.
yeah, and they're not, and that would be red flagged before it ever got, I mean, anywhere. You know what I mean? But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's why they let some of these, like, that's why a lot of these people, I'm sure, do this stuff on purpose, just to make it look like everybody's a nutcase. Like they did with the ancient
Yes.
aliens guy. Bless his heart, but they just made him look like a crazy man. But he and now they're finding evidence that a lot of the stuff that he was talking about 20 years ago on ancient aliens is like real. Crazy.
No, straight up, it's true. And correct me if I'm wrong. Who were the first people that supposedly had landed on the moon? Buzz Aldridge, and who was the other one?
Neil Armstrong.
Yes, okay, and in the end, right, Neil Armstrong wrote a book about what he saw. But guess what? The officials didn't care because at that point in time, they just said he was senile. Go ahead and publish your book. You're an old individual that is not going to be around for too much longer, so you're just crazy. It's just very interesting in regards like that. And I just, again, think people get too hooked up on that stuff. Another video that's been floating around for a while, right? It kind of caught me for a second in the beginning, but it had some sort of insignia on it, trying to make it look like it was top secret. And the dogman or potential dogman howl in the background is interesting. And I do believe that howl is a real howl. Okay. But the video itself are still shots that are linked together, meaning that they're saying this official found the nefarious dogman out in the forest. And it's like cut still shots that go boom, boom, boom to try to make it look like it's running. Okay. And that's been debunked for quite a long time, yet it's floating around again. And I just find it so humorous for, are people really this oblivious, or do they legit not care? Like you and I were previously talking about, because at the end of the day, I'll use this as an example, right? You and I are good friends. If we're hanging out, maybe I'd do something gnarly that you had no clue about, or vice versa. But for the most part, say if I was like involved in some crazy gang or something and you were hanging out with me, come on, you knew about that. You might not know everything about the people you're chilling with, but you know enough, correct?
Yeah. I would want to know enough if I was going to hang out with you like that, for sure.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. But then when you get these people that are just, it's like, yo, do you not want to know? Like, do you just want to believe this? I mean, look at it though. It looks fake. Like, what goes through somebody's mind to even justify in their own brain that that looks real? It looks horrendously fake. And I've explained it before about how I could easily do something like that with a trail camera. I spoke about that with William White the other night and make it look like it's a brand new real trail camera image. And this is all hot garbage, okay? For some reason, though, even when it's debunked, people just put it out there all the time. The Gable film, these Brazilian werewolves that are AI, this werewolf, like I just told you, running through the woods of Michigan, this werewolf crawling across this guy's backyard in Wisconsin, came from Skyrim. This guy's using a taxidermy wolf. Hello, people. Like, what's going on here? Like, why is this all still circulating when it's been
Sad.
debunked?
It like I grew up in the days of VCRs, you know, and I had to blow into my game set just to make it work. But I can still spot a fake. CGI, I don't know if I were just ruined on puppetry because I like you can literally tell what's CGI. It I don't know. I you can't fool me with like CGI stuff. I don't care what it is. You can legit tell when something's CGI. I don't know what it is, if it's just it's like I don't know. It doesn't have the same aura or
It's
energy about it,
fake.
or like it doesn't. You
Yes.
just doesn't have like I don't know. There's I can't literally
It's like,
describe
why are
what.
we cutting like people slack here? It's back to, like I said, it's like all these people that are supporting these people deep down inside, they're frauds, they're hoaxers, this is hot garbage, yet you're just convincing yourself that you have no idea that this person's a hoaxer. Yeah, this is dope stuff. Like, what?
How do you go to the movies and like not think that that's not real? Then like what are you doing?
It's brutal. It really, really is. And I don't know. I just think it's just such a misfortune because, yeah, there's real information out there. And the North American Dogman Project, we have the real stuff that's been, as far as we can figure out, verified. But it's not like any of this crazy stuff about, man, Jody's
It's
been
just
doing this since 1991. He's never once verified any sort of underground breeding program. Okay. Like, that's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying Jody's the end all be all, but I mean, Linda Godfrey, rest in peace, she never verified anything like that either. So I don't know.
listen, they're gonna like it's beyond that. If they had 1991, if they had an underground breeding lab, I'm gonna tell you something right now. They've already took the DNA that they needed from whatever creature and put that right into a human, and the man has it now, and they don't need to breed or train, anything. And that's honestly the way I feel about it. Like, I'm pretty sure that if it's come that far. I mean, they've been doing this since the 40s. So yeah, let's
Yes.
just yeah,
And
it's
it's easy to hoax, unfortunately. Okay, I have a super sweet werewolf mask before we let you get back to your busy schedule here that my little brother and I are actually going to do, I think Friday night, if all goes well. One of my friends who's a musician helped out creating some really cool music. So that's copyright free. We're going to make a live music video and he's going to be like the werewolf. But that mask, right? I put it on the other day to mess with my roommate's grandmother and looked into the window, scared the living Christmas trees up out of them. And that's just what I'm saying. So it's really easy to hoax something, meaning obviously you need to predict where you are. I wouldn't suggest going through a neighborhood where everyone's strapped and they don't care. They see something like that, they're going to blast. I wouldn't suggest doing that in like the ghetto. But if you went to a pretty wealthy type area, right, where people probably aren't about like hoaxing like that, and you put on a werewolf costume and just ran through someone's backyard on their security camera, well, you're probably gonna scare them, okay? And yeah, it's once it's broken down, someone can be like, well, look how it's running, yeah, the mask. But I'm just saying, like, it's pretty easy to hoax somebody such as that. But I don't know, I just, again,
it's like again, people's brains will literally make them think that they didn't. Like your brain tries to protect you. It will literally tell you that you didn't see that. You didn't see that at all. That's not what you really saw, you know. And people are so
yes.
scared. A lot of people like they can like you said they could all have witnessed what they thought that was the same thing. It was a werewolf. It was wearing a green t-shirt. No, it was wearing a blue t-shirt. And they'd be like, whatever. It was a werewolf in a t-shirt.
Yes, and again, on
Yeah.
a final note, like it would be beautiful to always believe everyone at face value. Okay, well, a while ago, someone was trying to say they raised a dogman pup and all this stuff, and when it was deceased, he started crying, and just by the look of this individual, he just looked like unkept. He just looked insane. Okay, just from his mannerisms, whatever. All right, that was a crazy
Where
story, but
is it?
now
And where's the pup? Where you let it
where's
go?
anything, right? And he named it Rufus. But also, let's look at people in prison, unfortunately. How many people in there will look you straight in the eye after being convicted, okay, and swear to you up and down that they didn't do anything, all right? And again, if people like that are in existence, why would somebody not do that with a Dogman? Look you straight in the face and have the capability to lie.
I mean, people think that, I mean, people mistake bears for stuff all the time, like it's just, I mean, if you get a quick look at a bear and you're already scared, because a lot of people, fear is the mind killer, and that is a real thing. It will literally, like it wants you to run. Puts you in flight mode. You don't remember what you really saw. You thought you saw what looked like a dog. I mean, you can't. You just don't know. Like, I mean, I if I wasn't scared to be in the woods, I mean, there's a lot of my friends who won't stick around, like stuff will happen and they're like, they want to have an experience, but they'll go out there and then stuff will happen and then just get completely terrified. They want to go. They want to go. And I'm like, no, it's cool. Don't be scared. Like, this is what you wanted. And it's just like, and it's just one of those things. It's just like they don't actually want to have that. They don't want to, they think they do and then they don't. And then, certain
Nope.
people, some people are there to have it, like, look for things. And even then, when they see it, you've got, I don't care if it's your first time seeing something, even if you're there looking for it, the fear that comes over you is is something else, something else that you don't describe. It takes like days of processing, what you saw, what happened to you, that you're all right and that you're okay. And you always have to keep in mind, if they wanted you, they would have got you already. Like,
Preach,
there's a
my
lot of things.
friend. That is
Yeah.
so funny. That's on a parting note right here. Like one of my exes, she used to always, oh my God, this spider is huge. And I'd come in and be like, dude, that's not really big at all, man. But yeah, sure, I got it. And she's like, you're just going to put it in the cup and bring it outside? I'm like, yeah. She's like curled up in the corner of the bed. And you're like, geez. So, no, like you said, the fear aspect always definitely increases that. But I do appreciate you popping in tonight, my friend, and investing some of your valuable time here in Midnight Lycanthropy and hanging out with us and definitely shedding some more light on this pretty nefarious topic known as the Dogman for sure. And I look forward to our future collaborations.
Yeah, thanks for letting me ramble on. It's been fun. I appreciate you.
Thank you for everybody who once again stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm, and I will catch you on the next one.